I am who I am, thanks to my Guru, His Holiness Acharya Sushil Kumar Ji Maharaj. I'm sure each one of you has some people in your lives that you are grateful for where you are today. Let's take a moment to remember them, thank them, because they will continue not just now, but for the rest of our lives. Are you ready to rise, awake, lead with courage and humility? Hello, Tampa. In the Indian word, there is a word called Josh. How is the Josh? I see that. It's also almost like your mojo. How is the mojo? Mojo seems to be quite high. But I want to ask you a question. Remember, we are going to have a conversation. I'll speak some and then you will respond some. You see this image? Do you, at this time, looking at the situation in our country, around the world, feel almost like you're down in the ashes? Which, is a good sign. That means you're going to rise. You're going to go upwards. That's why I say rise, awake, lead with courage, lead with humility. In life, we will come to different stages where we will fall down. But do you have it in your character and the support system that you have to rise again like the mighty phoenix? That is what we have to remember. That's what we are called for. The measure of your character is not how many times you've fallen down, but how many times you've gotten up again. You have the ability to rise again. So I wish that upon you. But as I move forward, I just have a question of you. Is there anybody in the audience here who's never made a mistake? Thank God. Because had any of you raised your hand, I would have said, I'm so sorry for you. Mistakes are bound to happen. Have I made mistakes? Of course I have. Do I regret them? Of course I do. Can I do anything about it? Yes, I can learn from my mistakes and don't repeat them again. That's what I wish upon each one of you. That's what responsible leadership is. So as we move forward, there is one simple thing, you people are here. That is testimony to me that you are seekers, you are learners, that you are the people who are the change makers. That's why you come to a TEDx talk, right? So what does it take to be a responsible leader? In all my deliberations across the world's leaders that I've been fortunate to encounter, we came up with 3 simple questions. Ask yourself that question. Do you make decisions based on the present or the future? Are those decisions based out of conviction or convenience? Are they constructive or destructive? We are not here to judge you, whether you are a responsible leader. This is a dialogue you're going to have within yourself. Be honest, brutally honest, when you are alone, to answer these for yourself. It is a process, it's not easy, I can assure you. I have spent a good 35 years in the international community now. There will be times that I will question even my commitment to these questions which I'm asking you today. I may slip, but then I'll come back to it. That's what responsible leadership to me is. But let me just backtrack. Where did it all begin? I was born in a house of privilege. Early on, we were really inculcated the principles of what it is to give in life, what it is to be there for somebody in life, to be sharing with them. And as you come from a good and wealthy family, what do? They send you to a boarding school. I was sent to the Bishop Cotton School in Simla in India. This is the oldest private school in all of Asia. I was privileged to have gone there. But what strikes me in today's world, looking at everything that's happening, is the motto of my school, which as a young man was deeply embedded into me: overcome evil with good. How many times we have to do that in our lives? Are we ready to do that? That's what a responsible leader does. Fast forward, remember I came from a background of privilege. A time came in my life that I decided to leave my family and venture in my own. Now, this is a story I have not shared, so if I get emotional, please bear with me. Nobody knows that part of my life, because at that time when I ventured out alone, I was earning enough to only have one meal a day. I was sharing an apartment, a room actually, with 4 people. No bed to sleep on. It was my roll-on, bed, just a duffel bag kind of thing. At night, you roll it out on the hard floor, and you go to sleep. In the morning, you get up, there's no bathroom. I go out, take a bucket, fill it up from the tank of water, and bathe in the open air in the terrace. But where is my mind? My mind knew from a young age that I was destined for greater things in my life. I was not going to let that deter me. I was going to let that encourage me, motivate me more, to do more. That's the foundations each one of us needs. That when we come to the challenges, do we have the ability to rise like the mighty phoenix? Now, do you know who this young man in this photograph is? Nelson Mandela. He's the young man. I can tell you one thing, he never got to give a TEDx talk or a TED talk on leadership. But I'm here to speak to you. So why do I want to refer to Nelson Mandela? One of the unique, innate abilities of an extraordinary leader, they have an ability to put you at ease. It's just in them. They disarm you. That's what I experienced when I was with him. And why do we talk about him today? Because he's a man who believed in freedom. He believed that the apartheid state was evil. He went to prison for that, 27 years. He had the courage to stand up and speak. That's why he became the leader of the apartheid movement and went to prison as a militant. But why do I want to speak about him today? Because he had the courage and the humility. February 11, 1990, at 4:15 in the afternoon, he comes out of prison. He does not seek vengeance. He has the humility to recognize that we cannot follow the path of vengeance. He sees that his actions have to bring people together. He has that humility. That day, Nelson Mandela became a leader. That day, he became Madiba. That's what the South Africans call him, father. From the militant leader, he became the father of the nation. We look at him and we remember him as the moral conscience of the world today. He became a phenomenal leader because he stood up not just to his enemies, he stood for them, but he also stood up to the people who were not unhappy with him, his own followers, because he had taken the path of reconciliation. These were militants. They did not follow that. Right? That's why we talk about Nelson Mandela. Now, each one of you here, I see you as leaders. You don't have to be a CEO of the Tampa airport or the CEO of the Tampa General Hospital or congresswoman or a podcaster. All you need is courage and humility. Courage to speak up, stand up when something is wrong. When you realize, when you see things are not okay, have that courage to stand up. But I want to tell you, if you have only courage and you don't have humility, that is foolishness. Because if you do not have humility, you will never be able to listen to the voices of dissent, to things that are sensitive to people, which can hurt people, or the advice that one gets. So have that humility with the courage. So remember I asked you to reflect on the 3 questions? Number 1, do you make decisions based on the present or the future? In the conversation that I've had, there's one principle which emerged. That is, do you make the future to be the way you want it to be? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Simple principle. What does that mean? Treat others the way you want to be treated in the future. So you're making decisions based on the future. I'm sure that none of you, I really hope not, would go out tomorrow and just buy a brand new car to just for a joyride around in today. 2 days you don't have the money to pay for it. This makes sense to you? So you have to think about the future, because you don't want to wake up in 20 years and there's no money in the bank. The people are gone. So always think about the future. It's the responsible leaders who, even though sometimes it may be popular in the present moment to make decisions based on what is required today, they look into the future. They see what the world needs. They decide on that. Nelson Mandela was one such leader. Remember, he came as a militant, but he reflected. He reflected and saw that violence will only beget violence. More violence today is not a guarantee for no violence tomorrow. He had that humility to recognize that. He did not believe in an eye for an eye. He believed that he needs to reconcile, bring people together. So he acted out of conviction, not convenience. Which brings me to my second question. Are those decisions based on conviction or convenience? The great poet Robert Frost wrote, I came to a wood, divided roads, and I took the road less traveled. And that made all the difference. Because it's very easy, very convenient. Say tomorrow you want to go to Miami. You get down in a sedan and ride down I-75. It's very convenient. But what if you decided to go off-road, go through the Everglades? That's conviction. So that's what responsible leaders do. They speak up when they see something wrong. They have the courage to challenge their own followers if they see something wrong. Even if what is happening is not anything which is impacting you, your own followers, and even your enemies or the people you don't agree with. But you get up, have courage, and speak. Speak out. So if you see something, say something. Old philosophy. Again, I go back to Nelson Mandela. Right? As a militant, 27 years in prison. He comes out. And again, he acts with conviction. He forges people to come together. Imagine if he had followed the militant path he was on. Would we have the South Africa the way we have it today? Would he have been like the father of the nation and father of the world, the moral conscience? I felt that with him. I saw that. Again, he chose to not destroy his country. He chose to keep them together. Which brings me to the third question. Are those decisions constructive or destructive? This image, what does it remind you of? Remember the Disney movie Beauty and the Beast? Remember Gaston calling upon all the villages to march upon and kill the beast? A responsible leader does not point fingers at others. A responsible leader brings people together. He keeps people together, looking at what is in the larger interest, not just of my own self, my own community, but of the nation, of the world. They want to see that they don't go and destroy the place. Now, each one of you is a leader. Let's go back to Nelson Mandela. 12 years ago, he died. We are talking of him today also. Why? Because he had that conscience, he had the foresight to see what was in the interest of not just his country, bringing people together, but for larger humanity. He saw that his path of militancy had changed him, so each one of you has that ability to transform through the life's experiences. There are a few other traits two other traits actually, which I want to share with you in terms of responsible leadership. Unique abilities. Because one of the things that each one of us, I'm sure, follows is how can I be happy? How can I be in bliss? How can I be in joy? There are all kinds of toolkits available and so many books written about it. But the essence of it, I tell you, is really simplicity. That is the second ability, another ability of a responsible leader. They have an innate ability to simplify the most complex things. I felt this simplicity of trying to be happy in a simple statement. You know who this is? Pramukh Swamiji Maharaj. He truly believed that his joy was based upon what your state of life is. And reflect on it. You know, in our young days, you might have been into a fight, let's say, and let's just assume that you beat up the other person. Did you feel very happy about it in the moment? Perhaps you did. But deep down, you knew it was wrong. You knew that ultimately the joy in the others will make you feel that joy and bliss in your own life. That's one thing. The second thing which I want to share with you, just as a quick example, you know who this person is here? This is Rabbi Arthur Schneier. He's a Holocaust survivor. He turned 95 on the 20th of March. I was with him just a couple of weeks ago at Passover. And what does he do? He shows up every morning. At 95, when he knows the world's leaders, everybody respects him. He's achieved everything. He shows up. Why? Because he feels he still has something to contribute. Show up. Especially when you see things not okay. He is absolutely aghast at the rise of anti-Semitism or hatred. He says, I have to show up. So I said, Rabbi, what is a message for me? He says, Yeneni. Can you repeat the word Yeneni? Yeneni. You know what it means? I'm here. He's saying, show up. Show up every day. That's the motivation that I have from people like these in my life. Right? Why do we talk about him today? Because he had the courage and humility. Unfortunately, what we are seeing today in our leadership is oftentimes there is courage and no humility, or there's humility and no courage. So I want you to reflect on these words. To me, courage without humility is foolishness. Courage without humility is destructive. It is like a bull in a china shop, or should I say, a buffalo in an apple store. That's not what we want. But unfortunately, our social media today rewards outrage more than outreach. So we have to always be conscious of where we are. Courage without humility can be cruelty. People who pride themselves on being brave enough to label or demean entire groups of people without the humility to ask whether it's fair or kind. Humility without courage is hiding. Humility without courage is convenience, not conviction. Unfortunately, that sometimes happens because you don't have the courage to speak up. If you don't have the humility to recognize. So humility without courage has no moral center because it shrugs and says maybe both sides have a point, even when the dignity of human beings is at stake. So where are we at? If you don't have courage, you cannot stand up for the dignity of all people. If you don't have humility, you will focus on your own dignity and no one else's. If you don't have courage, you cannot dream of a nation of freedom and liberty. If you don't have humility, you cannot dream of freedom and liberty for all. If you don't have courage, you will allow things that are plainly wrong. And if you don't have humility, you will do things that are plainly wrong. So I turn to you all. Do you think you are leaders? Speak out with some courage. You will be the responsible leaders. Because I am looking out. I am seeing in the distant. I am seeing that mountaintop. I know we will get there. The journey is going to be difficult. It's going to be arduous. We will have to be there for each other. So are you willing to be those leaders who will ensure to take people along with you as we climb up the mountaintop? That means you're ready to rise and awake and lead with courage and humility and be the change we wish to see. Remember, the choices we make dictate the lives that we lead. That is what a responsible leader has to constantly remember. So today, I wish upon you God's grace. I'll say, God bless the mighty United States of America. God bless you all. Thank you, Namaste, and Jai Swaminarayan.